morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to our event on the 3Cs initiative, What is Next for Bulgaria and Croatia in the initiative under our partnership framework. Please allow me to introduce Dr. Rumena Filipova from the Institute for Global Analytics in Bulgaria and Alexander Arabadic from the Academic of European Careers in Poland, who will also be our expert on Croatia. Welcome you too.
Hello.
I would like to begin a little bit on the preliminary points about the 3Cs initiative. The 3Cs initiative was incepted in 2015 and now has developed quite a lot since the last 7 years. We are approximating to almost its 10-year anniversary, but since then, many events have happened in Europe. In this regard, we have also lived not only the corona pandemic, but also the war in Ukraine in present times. Now, these have posed several challenges for the initiative, but also with our transatlantic partners, and more recently with Taiwan, and China, and Russia. We will try to discuss these preliminary points more in detail during our panel, but to begin with, I would like to start with Alexander. Alexander, to a certain extent, Poland, through the foundation and implementation of the 3Cs initiative, has positioned itself as a leading state in Central and Eastern Europe. However, we see Poland focusing more on more pressing matters like the war in Ukraine, which concerns us all, and the next year's CM elections. Can we expect this leading role to change or evolve vis-a-vis the 3Cs initiative, or do we see this emerging Poland as taking other more pressing roles?
Do you hear me? Because I don't see. Okay, then I will talk. But do you see me on the screen? Because I see that I have. Okay, it doesn't matter. I will start my speech. I'm sure that there will be no bigger change because Poland is one of the initiators of the 3Cs initiative. This is first thing. Second thing, it's the advantages of being the biggest of the countries and with the biggest economy, and it should be as a train. Yes, you have a locomotive which have to take this train forward, but it's not so big to focus on other countries' policies. Poland want to be primus inter pares in this initiative, and I'm sure I'm sure that Ukraine in the future will be also part of this initiative. And it's very important to remind some powers in Brussels, but also in Poland and some other Central European capitals that 3Cs initiative isn't against the European Union, but it's a part of it should be, and it is a part of European Union in this region, and also a stalwart part of NATO security system. It should be, and it is.
Indeed.
And what about elections? Because there are some countries, some capitals in Central Europe, they think that maybe if there will be the change of power in Poland, that they will be the end of the 3Cs initiative. I'm in contact also with think tanks on the other side of our Polish political scene, and I'm sure that in some kind this initiative, maybe it will be some other maybe important points, but it will be all the time going forward.
Indeed, we'll come back to this, especially or particularly with regards to Poland. Now, Rumena, you're from the global analytics in Bulgaria. Can you please introduce briefly Bulgaria's perception of the 3Cs initiative? We have seen yesterday that the Baltics actually have quite regarded this project high on their agenda. What is it like for Bulgaria? And has this perception really changed throughout the years since 2015 up until now?
Let me first say that overall, the general framing and perception of the 3Cs initiative in Bulgaria is situated within a degree of subdued rather than vigorous and committed support to the initiative, both on the level of politics and also society. That is to say that the reception has been to an extent lukewarm, and this has been also coupled with a degree of wariness and opposition to the initiative, particularly on the part of Russophile circles, which are socialist and nationalist and situated on the political spectrum. Also, the degree of public debate and awareness of the initiative has not been sufficient. Now, having said that, and this being the general political and societal framework, it also has to be noted that, of course, a degree of push has been given to the initiative by particular political actors who have had a stake and also an interest in pushing forward the initiative. And here, of course, I have to mention successive Bulgarian presidents, of course, and also the 2021 summit, which was hosted by Sofia, raised the degree of political awareness and also the important economic benefits that can flow from the platform. Then again, however, it has to be mentioned that despite all of this, and a year and a half has passed, and Bulgaria still has only 4 projects which are active under the framework, and it's the least number of projects, and Bulgaria is only trailed in this ranking by the Czech Republic. Now, in terms of the most recent development and the push that has been provided to the further development of the initiative, I have to mention the activeness on the part of the Ministry of Innovation and Growth, which a few months ago actually changed the institutional structure of the national coordination of the 3 Cs here in Bulgaria, because up to that point, the national coordination had been vested in specific persons and in particular concrete names. But a greater degree of institutionalization was provided to the national coordination, as it is now lodged within the Ministry of Innovation, and no matter who holds the particular post. So this will provide a degree of continuity also. And most recently, Bulgaria has started to more actively cooperate on issues related to cybersecurity trainings and building the cybersecurity infrastructure in the country, as it has been subject to Russian hacking attacks. So overall, to sum up, I would say that the general perception and framework regarding the 3 Cs initiative here in Bulgaria has been such that the degree of support and recognition of the benefits has been insufficient, but nevertheless there have been particular political, business, and also civil society stakeholders that have taken the forefront in terms of popularizing the initiative, which is, I think, the way that we should go.
Indeed, you mentioned and you touched briefly on one of my next questions, which was how to overcome these challenges that you mentioned. And well, we believe that one of the paths to overcome these challenges is precisely to foster this acceptance to the general public and also within the government or public and private domains. Now, you mentioned that currently Bulgaria has 4 projects. But among these 4 projects, what are the most pressing portfolios for Sofia? I mean, we have energy, we have infrastructure, smart connectivity. You mentioned cybersecurity, which I'm happy also to share that in our yesterday's event, we also mentioned cybersecurity in the Baltics and their willingness to further explore these possibilities and these cooperations with, between North and Southern partners.
So let me first say that the national projects that are currently under development have to do with projects which are very specific to the country. So in terms of railway development and also expanding the energy infrastructure. So important as these projects are for Bulgaria itself, we have to say that the regional dimension to those is quite limited. And actually, one of the specifics of how Bulgarian proposals regarding the Three Seas initiatives have developed is that they're excessively nationally specific in nature. And so the regional dimension has not been developed to a significant extent. And one of the major animating and distinguishing characteristics of the Three Seas initiative is exactly to construct projects which can connect the countries in the region. And so just to give you one example, our neighbor, which is also part of the Three Seas initiative, namely Romania, we can significantly expand interconnectedness between the two countries, for instance, as regards building new bridges over the Danube, because this has emerged as a particular issue area in Bulgarian politics, and yet we only have two bridges along the Danube, and it's a long border with Romania. Also, railway connections between the two countries, but I would expand and say within the Balkans in general are still underdeveloped. So there are many different areas that have an important regional dimension, which can benefit, of course, each and every country, but still remain underdeveloped. And just let me give you another example of how cooperation with Romania and other countries can be taken further, and yet there have been delays. So this has to do with the Brua energy project aimed to bring energy from gas supplies from the Caspian Sea, also from the Black Sea, from Bulgaria, Romania to Hungary and Austria. And this project was a priority one for Romania, completed its part in 2020, and yet the project remained dysfunctional for a prolonged period of time, given the delays in the construction of the Greece-Bulgaria interconnector. And this did lead to frustrations on the part of the Romanian side, and the issues were raised also with the European Commission regarding the delay of the construction of our part. So this example just comes to show that important projects with a regional dimension can be hampered by national considerations and problems.
Indeed, this is one of the next questions that we will definitely look into, how national considerations and how these agreements as well on the internal and foreign policy can affect the further development of the initiative. Now, before I do that, I would like to turn my my questions to Alexander. Now, Alexander, you have worked on topics of Croatia as well, and also I would like to take also what Romana said about the geopolitical aspect of the Three Seas initiative. I mean, there's no doubt that this initiative has a geopolitical dimension, and the fact that between Croatia and Bulgaria, we have Serbia, Montenegro, and Bosnia, not members of the Three Seas initiative. So what kind of cooperation or challenges could we see in this geographical location? And can these challenges, if any, be overcome despite the fact that there are not formal links within this initiative?
Okay, former Yugoslavia, also the point in Europe which made there are always some kind of problems also with security economy. We had the war in 90s. Probably most of us know this and remember, even for example, me remember signs of war and family which fled from the military area. We see, okay, Montenegro is a small country, now a very important, not big but important in case of security, European country, and also we have to remember it's part of the NATO alliance. And this is one point. Bosnia and Herzegovina is all the time a problem, and Serbia, I'm not sure if the European Union is solving it very good, because there's one thing in Serbia and Kosovo mainly, that, okay, we tell that Serbia is silent ally of Russia, but European Union is not doing anything to help Serbia to get to European Union. Kosovo is the best example. Of course, I understand Serbia is not very holy in this part, but at the moment, everybody is telling that it's fault of Serbia, and it's not fault of Serbia. It's the fault is on both sides, on Kosovo, which is escalating the conflict, and Serbia because of their before actions. And I think this is very important that the Three Seas countries and Three Seas initiative can be one of the motors which will bring peace to this region because of our former experience with some Western powers, Eastern powers, with Germany, Russia, and so on.
Indeed, there's an expectation or a hopeful agenda that that economic growth can indeed, or perhaps could bring peace to the region. I would like to ask the same question to Rumena. I mean, we would like also to hear Bulgaria's side as a close partner in the region and as an emerging actor in the region as well. This geopolitical dynamics, how would this play out in the future cooperation for Bulgaria?
First of all, we also have to clarify what Bulgaria's policy regarding the Western Balkans has been, the problems, and then the potentialities which are also identified within the Three Seas Initiative framework. Of course, in general, Bulgaria has been a supporter of the European integration of the Western Balkan states. However, the dispute with North Macedonia and the veto that was applied soured relations to a very significant extent, and this is of course also viewed negatively in North Macedonia in many ways. Of course, this problem has also been Europeanized. It is part now of the European negotiation and integration process of North Macedonia. So hopefully a European solution can be found to the problem. Now, regarding the Three Seas Initiative, it can contribute very positively to building interconnections among the countries of the region, because of course, after we have or keep discussing questions of history and identity, I think that the contemporary developments and the growing enmeshment politically, economically, also in terms of infrastructure can go a long way in terms of building goodwill among people in contemporary times, aside of questions of history and identity. So in that regard, the Three Seas Initiative can be expanded to increase the capacity of interconnection between the countries. And most recently, there has been a discussion about the expansion of interconnectors and the energy systems of Bulgaria and North Macedonia, which of course can happen within the Three Seas Initiative. Also, in terms of transport, I think that railway connections and links remain significantly underdeveloped, and it may be actually very hard to reach neighboring Balkan countries, as there is a scarcity of well-developed links, both in terms of railway, but also highways and air travel. And that actually makes the region different from Central Europe, which can boast better connections among the countries in the region. So for sure, connecting links between the countries, between Bulgaria and via Croatia, because of course the Western Balkans region cannot remain isolated from the rest of its neighbors and partners in the region.
Indeed, I mean, to a certain extent, it's inevitable that if we would like cooperation between Bulgaria and Croatia, we would have to also attain a certain degree of consensus with the Western Balkans. And inevitably, we would definitely push further for this, because if there's a halt in the region, there's a halt in general in the further development of the Three Seas Initiative. Now, this is particularly interesting because then brings me to my question. Last week, discussions about European Schengen visa-free travel zone took place. And this is a question that obviously interests us quite a lot, not only within the framework of the Three Seas Initiative, but eventually in the next steps of the future development of the European Union. Now, Alexander, Croatia is to join the free travel zone in 2023. However, Bulgaria has left out, as Austria objected their inclusion, as how the decisions were made. This left us thinking, both are member states of the Three Seas Initiative, but how can this decision affect the attainment of an efficient and progressive initiative? We see from Romania that there's a will from Bulgaria to cooperate. How does Croatia see this?
Problem of they are not very happy, because Croatia was sure that all of European countries will be in the Eurozone and in Schengen as fast as it can be, because, as I said before, it's one of the guarantees to have peace in the southern part of Europe. But in case of Three Seas Initiative, I'm not sure that this will be a problem, because the Three Seas Initiative is focused on three main things: digital economy, infrastructure, and transport. Okay, transport, it can make some, but you don't have to be in Schengen to, I don't know, to build railways or highways. Politically, probably this will be some kind of problem, but on the other hand, Croatia can be one of the ambassadors to do this, for example, I don't know, in a year or 2 years, in a year and a half, because of some also similar experience in the past. Maybe not economical, but because, for example, I was taking part in some last weekend, I was taking part in a European Conservatives and Reformists summit in Warsaw, and it was a panel about joining the Eurozone. And for example, I was a true symmetrist there, because I'm not enjoying Poland being part of Eurozone, but on the other hand, I'm sure that it was the best solution for Croatian economic, which was from the beginning part of the. It was connected with the first, after getting its independence, the Croatian Hrvatska Nacionalna Banka was working with Deutsche Bank, not Deutsche Bank, with the Bundesbank of Germany, and Kuna was all the time, or it was connected with German mark, or after Germany introduced euro, there was euro was all the time some other currency, as it's, for example, in Montenegro, as far as I remember, in Kosovo, they are using euro as their own currency. And Croatia, of course, they had kuna, and it had some kind of independence in the economical policy, but truly from the beginning, from getting the independence, euro was German mark, and euro was one of the guarantees of Croatian economical rise. Sometimes also some problems. What was the state of German economy? This was the same state with the Croatian economy.
So while we expect a sort of a stability for Croatia in the next coming years, what does Bulgaria can tell us on this? Would this eventually inhibit the further development of the Three Seas Initiative when it comes to infrastructure or even transport? I mean, meaning that if Schengen is not allowed, this could pose certain challenges. Romana, please.
Let me just say two things about the Schengen decision in Bulgaria and Romania being left out of Schengen. First of all, this decision comes to show in general that, of course, the Three Seas Initiative and its development and the construction of the various projects are, of course, nested within other frameworks, including those of the European Union. And so these are a plethora of relationships and formats that have to be managed, and there are spillovers. Secondly, this decision can in a way, initiate a process of lesson learning, and it may be a way of encouraging greater contact between in this case, the Bulgarian and Croatian side in terms of exchanging best practices and experiences, as Alexander mentioned already, in terms of the Eurozone accession of Croatia, as it is again front runner in this process, as it was regarding Schengen. So I think that the Three Seas initiative in general, one of the important elements of it is that it represents a site for socialization and opportunity for lesson learning. So my point being that before Croatia's accession, in general, there was a lot of exchange of experiences in the Bulgarian transition process, how it came about and the steps that had to be taken. And these experiences were transmitted to the Croatian counterparts at that point in time. And now the opposite process can take place, including as regards Eurozone membership and the introduction of the euro. But of course, in my third point is that the decision regarding Schengen also shows that there is a lot of homework that has to be done domestically in the difficult political situation in Bulgaria. The inability to form a continuous and stable government will nevertheless hamper all important processes that the country has to take part in.
Indeed, and I mean, I would like to highlight that when there are challenges in the region and when there are certain matters that need to be resolved, sometimes alternatives are looked for. Now, the Three Seas Initiative has now its own investment fund, right? Enjoys strong support from the United States and from other countries interested in membership beyond the 12 states, included Ukraine, which I will come to Ukraine in a second. But most of these, or all of the members of the Three Seas Initiative are part of the European Union that make up this current cohort. In this regard, Central Europeans have already been courting a deeper U.S. involvement in the Three Seas Initiative on developing regional infrastructure, which includes Romania and Bulgaria. However, there's still some discussions, and now this might turn a little bit black or gray, let's say, when there's a future agenda of expanding the initiative into the Three Seas plus nations. Now, how would Bulgaria perceive in this framework of cooperation? On the one hand, there is a refusal to allow Bulgaria into Schengen, and now we see other countries trying to enter a project that has a further potential of enhancement, innovation, technology. So how does Bulgaria would conceive this?
Well, in general, I don't think that Bulgaria will oppose the membership or cooperation with further countries within Central and Eastern Europe, despite the fact that, of course, it was not accepted in Schengen. Now, and this is again has to do with the particular mindset in the general disposition in Bulgaria, that there has to be a greater recognition of the regional, cooperative, and multilateral opportunities that the Three Seas Initiative offers in and of itself, and also as regards cooperation with Ukraine and taking part in the reconstruction of the country. Also, there is an important initiative coordinated by the U.S., the Partnership for Transatlantic Energy and Climate Cooperation. And then again, it very much depends and hinges on Bulgarian policymakers' ability to develop a vision that is much more regional and cooperative in scope, as opposed to being focused on strictly national issues.
Thank you, Romana. I would like to turn to Alexander. Well, Alexander, Croatia and Lithuania joined the Three Seas Investment Fund as well. In this regard, I would like to ask you, now that Croatia and even Poland as well is hardly investing in this initiative, how do we perceive, or how could we perceive from Poland and Croatia's side, this inclusion of new partners? Let's say including Ukraine or including countries like even Georgia into this domain. Why? Because, well, energy security remains high in the European agendas.
Okay, if we want to that new nations will be part of the Three Seas initiative, we have also to focus on more soft power, also on more initiative which are showing the societies, nations that it's something bigger. It's not only building bridges, not only building nuclear electric plants or highways, but there we have shown also that there are some kind of similar routes, European routes, also defense routes. It's connected with the eastern border and Ukraine. Polish politics and experts, we were sure that there would be problem with Russia about 20 years ago even, and nobody knew this. We knew this, Georgians knew this, Romanians knew this, and big part of Ukraine knew this, and we are on the right side of history at the moment. But as I told in the beginning, infrastructure, yes, digital economy, yes, but without soft power and cultural influence, there will be no bigger initiative in this case.
Thank you. Indeed, you mentioned that when we actually include the soft power and when we become a bigger front, definitely there's going to be some eyes looking. And by these actors, I mean China and Russia. So what is the perception of Croatia in this regard? I mean, we had also an event a few weeks ago on the Czech perception and Hungary's perception. Now, we know that sometimes Hungary in this particular domain will or is included, definitely, but there are certain divergences into how to formulate national and foreign policies. And of course, it is of interest to know how Croatia can overcome first the perception and how can this perception be overcome and towards further integration.
I think I will go back also to my before. Three Seas initiative for Croatia is very big possibility to be one of the most influential gamers in the former Yugoslavia. That's why I think Croatia is so focused on the Three Seas initiative, and this is the point. Because of course we have roots with Croatia because of our cultural similarity, but also there is a lot of interests. And for, as I told before, Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, Croatia, and other countries in the former Yugoslavia. That's the point, and that's why they are giving money to the initiative. That's why they are also taking it serious, not as, because it's also true that not every Three Seas initiative country is taking the initiative very, I don't know, it's not very important for the foreign and inside policies.
Rubena, I would like to ask the same question. You mentioned in the beginning that Russia has indeed taken certain steps in the cyber domain towards against Sofia. So what is the general perception on this? Can this indeed suppose a challenge for the Three Seas initiative, or do we actually need to separate these two domains?
I think definitely the Three Seas initiative and cooperation with it can go a long way in terms of helping Bulgaria tackle the extensive Russian influence that we see in the country, particularly in the area of media and also energy. So it's very important to note, of course, that cybersecurity cooperation is a growing area within the Three Seas initiative. Also important ideas came out of the 2022 summit, including the fact that the Three Seas initiative fund is planned to support support investigative journalism in the region. Also, the idea to set up a digital literacy center, and also there was a civil societal forum that took place for the first time as part of the 3Cs initiative. So I think that these are very important developments in the sphere of media, disinformation, and building cybersecurity resilience within the platform that Bulgaria can make use of. And as we saw a couple of months ago, it did so by asking for help in terms of constructing its digital security and cybersecurity infrastructure. Also, the same applies to the energy sector, because we saw that it became an even more urgent matter to diversify and away from Russian energy sources, and to create better interconnection with the European energy system. And so this is another area in which Bulgaria can significantly benefit from the 3Cs initiative. Now, having said that, and that these being the objective significant benefits from cooperation within the platform, there is the question of perceptions in the configuration of the social and political sphere in the in that still a significant section of the political elite, the business elite, but also society maintain pro-Russian sentiments. They may represent veto players or oppose the further development of Bulgaria's cooperation within the 3Cs, as they remain attached to their pro-Russian sentiments and just general orientation. And I have to say that particularly in the media, nationalist and socialist circles have condemned the 3Cs, and that they perceive it as an anti-Russian initiative, and they claim that Bulgaria ostensibly has to maintain good relations with Russia. So, objectively speaking, the 3Cs can offer a lot, but there is a lot more to be done on the political and social level in terms of convincing people and important stakeholders that Russia represents a major threat to Bulgaria and is not an ally, despite what historically informed perceptions may hold. And just a point about China. Again, the initiative holds similarly important prospects, and when there are deficiencies in the areas of, in particular, transport, let's say, or digital infrastructure, it can provide a way for pooling resources. And as regards digital connectivity, a common 5G standards can be developed. Also, the Baltic experience regarding the construction of cross-border fiber optical networks and 5G cross-border transport corridors can be applied also to the Balkans, so that China does not push plans and gain a foothold on the idea that it can provide infrastructural development or digital services to the country. But again, we have to also talk about perceptions and general political orientation. And so far, we can say that the degree of public awareness of the significant threats and dangers emanating from cooperation with China has not yet taken place.
Thank you for this in-depth analysis. Indeed, I do have one more question, but before I turn to Rena again, I would like to focus on Alexander. Now, Poland has, once again, returning to the point of Poland, Poland has become a strong actor in the region. Now, you mentioned security and defense and the possibility that the 3Cs initiative can use this new infrastructure for enhancing this domain, so military mobility, for instance. Now, what kind of cooperation do we see between Poland and the Baltics further in this framework of the 3Cs initiative beyond this security and defense? We know, as a fact as well, we know that recently there has been implemented a gas pipeline between the Baltics and Poland. But can this eventually move beyond?
Thank you, Katia, for the question. At the moment, as we say, we have a big discussion in my academy, and we are sure that energy is one of the biggest guarantee of security dependence, and of course, this gas pipe is very important. But in case of cooperation between the Baltic Rim and Poland, it's also important to make bigger economical influences and investigation. That's why the Treaties Initiative is. We have this for the Via Carpathia. It's going between the Baltic states as far as to the south part of Europe. It's very important to also change in Europe, because all the time the development in Europe and the struggle was between the West and the East. And the Treaties Initiative is also an answer to this, because we want to focus more to create a better future and security between the North and the South, to change the directions of development and also of some problems, because as we see on the east side, and before about 50 years ago on the west side, it was the main problem of European development in last century and years.
Indeed, speaking about energy security and the general consideration of the public, the challenges that might encounter, Rumena, it is also of our interest to know, in general, the public perception. Now, you mentioned right at the beginning that the public in general has a divergence perception of the Treaties Initiative, and that there is a need to enhance this acceptance. What do you believe that it will be a viable plan? Do you believe that more involvement of the private initiative or more public-oriented plans should be the way to lead this engagement of the public?
Absolutely. Now, I think interested actors who understand the benefits and the importance of the initiative should continue to push forward, and they should, in addition to that, create connections among each other in a greater degree of cooperation. So, in that sense, the private sector who is aware of the benefits of the initiative, also the political stakeholders who have so far taken a lead in terms of promoting it, and also the wider research and civil societal community should continue to popularize the initiative. And let me just give you one example of what my institute is doing. In the first half of next year, we are planning to hold a conference which will gather representatives from 3Cs initiative countries who are representative of government structures, but also of the think tank community. And so this will take place in Sofia. In the idea is, of course, to popularize the ideas and importance of the 3Cs initiative, and then to start to build a much more permanent platform for cooperation and coordination, both among government and civil societal stakeholders. So this is what we can do, and in addition to that, of course, the relevant ministries and political figures who have been pushing forward the initiative should also continue to do so and connect with businesses in the civil societal sector.
Indeed, it's quite good to hear, and it is fantastic to hear that Bulgaria is actually doing something to push for this civic involvement of the private initiative. Now, it is quite important as they become the backbone of the 3Cs initiative. Now, Alexander, just my last question would go a little bit deeper into Polish-Taiwanese relations. Now, why Taiwan? Poland has now become a more stronger partner with Taiwan, specifically in the semiconductor technologies that are key for energy. Now, you mentioned energy as one of the most important components in the 3Cs initiative, and also clearly for Poland, seeing that the winter this year is relatively, as I feel it as well, colder than in previous years. Now, how can this future cooperation play out, and what role can we expect between Poland and Taiwan?
We have to remember that in the 21st century, it's not only the land and the minerals. They are not at the moment the most important thing. The most important thing is technology and society. And that's why the cooperation between Poland and Taiwan at the moment is very important in military, in economy, and in energy. Why Russia have a lot of also problems with their not only soldiers but with technology, because of the sanctions which were lifted by the Western countries and also by Japan or Taiwan. They have to, for example, they are stealing, I don't know, cameras in Sweden to repair their drones. And what's very important, China is not so very happy and don't want to share with them technology because they don't trust so much Russia. And Poland on the other side at the moment, even it's quite far away, Taiwan and Poland, is seen as a trustful and stalwart ally in world security. And that's why we have quite big cooperation. And maybe Taiwan is not big, but it's very important part of the world in case of technology, of producing computer processors and so on.
Indeed. Romana, I would like to ask the same consideration. I mean, in the topic of semiconductors, and how can actually Bulgaria become a lifeline in this regard? I mean, Bulgaria has also quite important export entry points. So, Romana.
Absolutely, and building relations with Taiwan in the semiconductor field is vital, and yet we have the whole host of political and societal considerations regarding Iran. So, on the political level, there has been a very strict adherence to the One China principle, both in terms of limiting significantly diplomatic interactions with Taiwan, but which also have an impact on economic activity and the lack of popularization of the importance of developing relations with Taiwan. So the Taiwanese representative office, trade office here in Sofia has regularly met with business representatives and showcased the importance of working together in developing business activity. But unfortunately, this has not gone beyond and the demonstration of goodwill and desire for cooperation. So significant investments have not been realized. Also, as I mentioned, when it comes to political parties, they have not necessarily had a stance on Taiwan-related issues, and this simply does not figure in the policy platforms of political parties. And on the other hand, however, the Chinese perspective, including in the media, has been gaining a greater foothold in Bulgaria, whereby we see the phenomenon when pro-Kremlin local proxies enable the entry of Chinese viewpoints in the Chinese narratives. So unfortunately, first of all, we have to tackle the whole problem of how to perceive and deal with China in its increasing offensive in the media sphere, and also partly in terms of the economy, and then to actually have a strategy, a debate, and a clear political orientation and approach to Taiwan, which are still missing, and therefore the economic potential of bilateral cooperation cannot be tapped into.
This is something that we'll be yet to see. Now, before I finalize with the main takeaways, I would like to just explore, in your own consideration, Alexander, and then Rumena, what can we expect for the 2023 summit in Romania, actually taking place quite close to Bulgaria. But Alexander, please elaborate a little bit on what can we expect, or what we would like to see in the next summit.
In next summit, I'm sure that there will be three things. Of course, it will be energy, most important and viable thing, and because of war. Second thing, I'm sure and I'm happy that we'll talk about the Schengen and that Romania and Bulgaria can join the Schengen zone, visa free travel and so on. And third thing, it will be probably also some kind of an invitation for Ukraine and giving them stronger ties to this region, and that they can be also a future part of this initiative. So as they have to be to form the future part of European Union. But it probably will begin from the Treaties initiative as the membership. The first
that's
country
quite
which is
interesting.
not part.
Yeah, it is true, and it is quite impressive and quite interesting to see that the Treaties initiative can become actually a forum where these kind of topics that not necessarily are related, but they are incidental, that is, at the same time they affect the European Union and the Europe as a whole. It is quite interesting, and I agree that we can expect this kind of conversation to take place in Romania, and that we, by initiating this under the Treaties initiative, can further propel further conversation in other different settings. Now, Rumena, please, what can we expect, or what would be the desired expectation in Romania next year?
Well, extrapolating from Romania's role in the region, in that it has taken a very prominent and also determined stance in terms of opposing Russian influence. It has also emerged as a regional leader in terms of forging and participating in defense initiatives of NATO, and also energy diversification projects. My expectation is indeed that the Romanian hosts will provide a further push to the development of the initiative. It will also be a chance for Bulgaria, in a way, to conduct joint advocacy with Romania as regards issues which are important to those two countries, both in terms of shared projects, but also, as was mentioned, in terms of our Schengen membership. Now, my expectation, and I would say hope, is that the important new initiatives that were taken up at this year's summit will be continued, including the civil societal forum. So it's an important element of the 3Cs initiative, which allows it to create, in addition, greater contacts, people-to-people contacts, and greater awareness and understanding of the initiative that goes beyond the high political level and big energy in infrastructure projects. Also, hopefully, again, the digital literacy center will continue to be developed, and also the other initiatives which are aimed at supporting investigative journalism and cybersecurity resilience, and in particular the digital aspect of the 3Cs, because it only 14% of all projects within the platform are related to digital connectivity, and these projects are much overshadowed by those in the sphere of energy and infrastructure, and yet it's an important avenue to develop, and I hope that this one in particular will continue to gain prominence and grow with time.
Thank you, Rumena. So we can conclude that the main takeaways are increasing or enhancing public participation, and well, the private domain, private initiative needs to be enhanced as well, fostering digital literacy, security, and digital connectivity, greater cooperation between North and South along the Three Seas initiative. So Bulgaria, Croatia, further cooperation with the Baltics as well is definitely necessary. Further integrating and reconciling national differences, cooperation between like-minded neighboring partners. So we expect, hopefully, further cooperation between Bulgaria and Croatia for the next coming years, and maybe perhaps discussion on this during the Romanian next year's summit. So in general, taking energy security seriously as well should be our point number one in the agenda. Now, there is a lot to continue to talk about, definitely, and we will do so in the next series of events, hopefully, preparing for next year. In the meantime, I would like to thank Alexander and Romena. Thank you for being with us again. And well, hopefully we can meet up next year in a new series of events under the 3Cs Initiative Partnership. Thank you.
Katia, very
Thank
important. Only
you.
one thing. Remember, today, soft power. Today, Croatia is on the World Cup. Croatia is playing with Argentina, and I'm sure that the most of countries and football fans will be for Croatia. Ajde Hrvatska.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank
Bye.
you.